a good look at this. Look what she wrote. We must be very clear-eyed about the threat we face and about what is required to defeat it. I have said since January 6th that I will do whatever it takes to prevent Donald Trump from ever again getting anywhere near the Oval Office, and I mean it. So she's going to sit here and do conflict of interest, which is against the law, and make up legal issues for Donald Trump. That it's her. It's conflict of interest. It is her putting Donald Trump through this crap. And I wouldn't be too surprised that if she's not the one that gave the FBI the okay to go and raid Donald Trump, setting it up. I bet they didn't even find documents in her. That's why they took the his boxes of documents with them. They probably pulled out some piece of paper and said, "Hey, you know what? This may not be it, but we're going to act like it. We're going to shove it back into the box, or we're going to hold it in our hand and walk out the door, and we're going to take all his boxes with him, and then we're going to make it look like he's done something wrong, so he don't go in the White House, so we could put him in jail." How do we know that they didn't take the documents with them and put them in his stuff? We don't. Where's the proof on it? That's why the search warrant was so broad. It's called a basic warrant. They don't do that no more. They put a law against it because it violates the Fourth Amendment. It's too broad. That's why they made it the way they did. And now you got the Attorney General. That says that he's in it too, so that makes it conspiracy. Man, people just need to get on with themselves, man. Get over themselves.
Former President Trump turning the tables on the media as Republicans ramp up the pressure to release more materials from the unprecedented FBI raid on his home. The press going into full Russiagate mode while trying to disprove Trump's claim that the Bureau seized his passports. CBS anchor Norah O'Donnell tweeting, quote, according to a DOJ official, the FBI is not in possession of former President Trump's passports.
They were.
Trump had accused the FBI of stealing his 3 passports during the search of his Mar-a-Lago home. The Orange Menace forced to correct the record, with his spokesman posting the email that backs him up, proving the agency removed his travel documents from Mar-a-Lago and would be returning them. The media is also ramping up their good versus evil game.
And I would say to our friends who are watching us today, vote as if your life depends on it because it might. Kevin McCarthy threatened the possible next Speaker of the House, the Republicans win, threatened an Attorney General.
Now let me stop it there. Because they're trying to accuse Trump of threatening the Attorney General. But it wasn't Trump.
And said, you'd better lay off Trump or else there's going to be violence.
Are we going to survive this?
I don't know. The hopeful part of this is that America does have resilience, and we do get over moments like this.
And remember how this raid was urgently needed to protect national security? Turns out Attorney General Merrick Garland sat on his butt and waited weeks to approve the search warrant. And we still don't know what the underlying evidence that was used to justify agents going through Melania's wardrobe. Right now, the DOJ recommends to keep that sealed. But a judge set a Thursday hearing to determine whether the public gets to see it or not. Senator Lindsey Graham says the American public needs transparency now.
We need the affidavit. Show your cards. Merrick Garland can't have it both ways. He can't give us the inventory, the warrant, without telling us why it was necessary. Without the affidavit, we're flying blind in the dark, and the American people are going through too much pain, too much heartache on this endless effort to destroy Donald Trump.
Judge, welcome back.
Thank you.
You were missed.
Really?
Yes.
Thank you. I missed you too.
Aww.
And you and you and you. You I didn't miss because you weren't here when I left. I don't mean anything. Okay, let me tell you what I think.
Yeah, I won't even ask you a question. I'm just going to turn on the battery.
Let's remember who's going to be conducting this hearing on Thursday. It's the same judge who signed the warrant.
Right.
Okay? So you've got this judge who signed a warrant that apparently was messed up from the get-go, and I'll tell you why. If it were a search warrant and they made a decision to go beyond a subpoena with a court order, there had to be some exigent circumstance. There had to be some emergency. Then we find out that Merrick Garland waited weeks before he actually made a final decision on that. And then we find out that even before then, in June, the president was cooperating with the NARA people, the National Archives people, who sent him a thank you note for cooperating. So at this hearing, the judge has to decide, look, we've got the American public has an interest in this, but the Department of Justice is saying, no, we don't want you to release this affidavit, the basis for the warrant, because we think it will compromise whatever investigation we're doing, that it will cause harm to certain people if it's being released, and that it doesn't serve a public interest, and that there is sensitive information, and they'll get a roadmap to where we're going. But on the other hand, in my 30 years in law enforcement, I have never heard of a defendant, and remember, this is a criminal warrant based on a statute that is not a criminal statute, right. The National Archives record. And so what he's saying, the president of the United States, the ex-former president, is saying, release it. I don't care what it says. I'm not worried about what it says. So this judge is in a box. The judge has to say, hey, wait a minute. Well, we've got the defendant himself who's not a party, the supposed wannabe defendant. He's not even a party. He's saying, let it all out. You know, the judge then has to decide, was it a wholesale fishing expedition? Now he knows America's tuned into this. They took passports. The media, based on Nora O'Donnell, saying, oh, they didn't take it. You know, it's like, we got a warrant, a legitimate warrant from a FISA court after we lied, after Christopher Steele did a dossier that Hillary Clinton paid for. But no worries, justice is still good with the FBI. And if you believe that, then you got a problem. But
Succeeding to Trump's chosen candidate in Wyoming, Cheney launched a new national political organization, a new effort to vanquish Trumpism and to try to block any attempt by Trump to return to power.
We must be very clear-eyed about the threat we face and about what is required to defeat it. I have said since January 6th that I will do whatever it takes to ensure Donald Trump is never again anywhere near the Oval Office, and I mean it.
3 days after her defeat, I sat down with Liz Cheney in the January 6th committee hearing room for a wide-ranging discussion on her election loss, the committee's remaining work, and her future in the Republican Party. I began by asking her about the magnitude of her loss. This wasn't just losing a House seat. You were in leadership. You were considered a future Speaker of the House, a potential future, maybe even the next Speaker of the House. It's a lot to give up. Any regrets?
No regrets. You know, I feel sad about where my party is. I feel sad about the way that too many of my colleagues have responded to what I think is a great moral test and challenge of our time. A great moment to determine whether or not people are going to stand up on behalf of the democracy and on behalf of our republic.
And I understand you heard from President Biden.
I did hear from President Biden. We had a very good talk, a talk about the importance of putting the country ahead of partisanship. And I've heard from a number of other people, as you can imagine, over the course of the last several days.
And some of your Republican colleagues here in Congress?
Yeah.
There were 10 of you that chose to vote to impeach. Did you hear from them after you lost?
Yeah.
All of them?
Yeah.
And describe that bond. I imagine that's going to last long after you leave Congress.
You know, we have differences of opinion among the 10 of us about a whole range of issues, of other issues, but the fact that we all made the decision we did and have faced the consequences for that decision will be a bond, I would imagine, forever.
What does your defeat say about Trump's hold on the Republican Party?
So I think, one, it says that people continue to believe the lie. They continue to believe what he's saying, which is very dangerous.
There's no lie. I've never known a Trump to lie. That's the thing. What has he lied about? You know, she wants to sit here and say that he's a danger to the Constitution, but he supports it. He's never attacked the Constitution when he was running for president, like all the dummies in the past have. I mean, it's evident.
I think it also tells you that large portions of our party, including the leadership of our party, both at a state level in Wyoming as well as on a national level with the RNC, is very sick. And that, you know, we really have got to decide whether or not we're going to be a party based on substance and policy, or whether we're going to remain, as so many of our party are today, in the grips of a dangerous former president.
In addition to Trump's gloating about your loss, his spokesperson said she may have been fighting for principles, but they are not the principles of the Republican Party. I mean,
I can go with that.
arguably he's right, isn't he?
Well, doesn't that tell you something? You know, what I'm fighting for is the Constitution.
Liar.
What I'm fighting for is the perpetuation of the Republic. What I'm fighting for is the fact that elections have to matter, and that when the election is over and the courts have ruled and the Electoral College has met, that the President of the United States has to respect the results of the election. And if Donald Trump's spokesman says that those are principles that are inconsistent with Donald Trump's views and inconsistent with the Republican Party's views, I think that ought to give every American pause about who Donald Trump is and about what the Republican Party stands for today.
So this is obviously not the end. This is a new beginning for you. You're starting this political organization. What can you tell us? What are you going to do?
I'm going to be very focused on working to ensure that we do everything we can not to elect election deniers, and I'm going to work against those people. I'm going to work to support their opponents. I think it matters that much.
Will you be getting involved in campaigns against those Republican candidates that are challenging or denying the results of the election?
Yes.
Including your Republican colleagues here in Congress?
Yes.
Is the country better or worse off if Kevin McCarthy is the next Speaker of the House?
Well, my views about Kevin McCarthy are very clear. The Speaker of the House is a second in line for the presidency. It requires somebody who understands and recognizes their duty, their oath, their obligation, and he's been completely unfaithful to the Constitution and demonstrated a total lack of understanding of the significance and the importance of the role of Speaker. So I don't believe he should be Speaker of the House. And I think that's been very clear.
So it